strategic framework to guide country. Betelnut traders protest against ban. And healthy minds, healthy children.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Tuesday's news. A strategic framework is being put together by key government agencies to advise the government on what approaches to take during the declared state of emergency. These include a relook at the resumption of the 2020 academic year, small to medium enterprises, and how to keep the local economy afloat. Prime Minister James Marape says while his government wants to see students resume classes at the earliest, the advice will come from medical experts and those in the know. SOE Controller David Manning says the strategic framework will help advise governments on what actions to take.
And to set these protocols, our controller will be in consultation with key stakeholders, including public service departments like Education Department, the Higher Education Department, and of course the provincial and local level governments for interface with our provinces right throughout our country. But our controller will also speak to key organizations like Chamber of Commerce, manufacturing councils, and our business community so that we all can contribute to how our country can live with the presence of corona for the balance of this year. And those calls will be made by the controller at the very earliest, in fact, a later part of this week, so that we could tailor our lifestyle for our country in which our citizens and business and government agents can live with the presence of corona amidst us as we go to the balance of this year. In our efforts to return back to normal, it is very much our intent to engage with our wider community, and starting as of tomorrow, we will be adopting a sectoral approach to this. So my colleagues, Secretary for Education, Commerce and Industry, Agriculture, and those key departments that allow a bureaucracy to function, a country to function, we will be putting together over the next couple of days a strategic framework to best advise the government as to what would be an appropriate position to be in as we transition into this second month of the SOE and even beyond the state of emergency.
The Office of the Secretary for the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade will give basic consular assistance to Papua New Guinea citizens who are overseas and require it during this global pandemic. Department Secretary Barbara Age is advising citizens to contact the nearest Papua New Guinea overseas diplomatic mission and consular posts as soon as possible. They can also contact the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade COVID-19 response team on the following contact details. The email address is dfed20@gmail.com or hotline number 301-4137, toll-free number 1-800-202 or WhatsApp 78107920. Enga Provincial Government will make available 1 million kina in the National Development Bank to take care of small farmers. Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipatas, who made this announcement in Kandep electorate recently, said this is to prepare his people given the effects of the coronavirus on the global economy.
With PNG already recording 2 cases of COVID-19, Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipatas steps ahead to prepare his people in case there is an adverse effect on PNG's economy in future. The Enga Provincial Government will make available a 1 million kina at NDB for farmers to access to get fertilizers and other related agricultural products to farm their lands. In a Provincial Executive Council meeting today, local MPs submitted their district plans to work with the provincial government during the COVID-19 state of emergency. Enga province is home to the Israeli agro farm, which grows strawberries and potatoes and exports them locally and overseas. It is also a market created for local farmers to sell their local produce, strawberries, potatoes and bulb onion to earn their living, and a strategy by the provincial government to stop tribal fight in the province. With the world closing their borders in fear of the coronavirus, Sir Peter envisioned for his people to farm their land to prepare for a bigger disaster, which might be an economic recession. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Hundreds of locals and Betelnut traders have blocked off the 4-mile road in Medang in protest over the recent buai ban in the country. The locals told police they are in support of the government's orders and have decided to stop the sale for now. A Ward 17 member, Sala Lato, says they have decided to block off the road with the bags of Betelnut for their local MP and Police Minister Brian Kramer to go to Medang to address them.
On Thursday, hundreds of buai traders and locals of Medang district gathered at 4 Mile just outside of Medang town and blocked off the road access into town. Bags of Betelnut were stacked one on top of the other across the road, obstructing vehicles from both sides of the road to pass through. A Ward 17 member manning the 4 Mile market told police the blockage is a demonstration of their obedience to the government's orders, but it is also a demand for the local member to come to Medang and address them.
Boy by Ben. So that's why people are putting boy na local Mr. Honorable Brian Caramalo, come now, look him now. Explain him, people from Marango Sam. Boy, and me Ben to now. So people are saying, people are low in that. Boy, and me Ben to do now, Lomaranga, people are saying now. So, white land, or Costa, we must get him now, put him out.
A local who also depends on the sale of Betelnut says, though they are complying with the government state of emergency orders, they are demanding Medang MP to release their DSIP funds. Samuel Main asked the member Brian Kramer to release the funds for the wards that were promised to all wards, as they cannot rely on the sale of Betelnut anymore and needs an intervention from the district.
Brian must come and explain him. Now I must talk to him or people with him how am I bring him services come inside online. You look at online, come now look at putting one here. They just want to show Brian that Brian has to come down and explain.
Another local, Uriatula, says since there is now a buai ban and they want their member to come to Medang and address them in terms of how best its people can have access to basic services.
Our immediate member is Brian Kramer, Minister for Police. Mipla got this la, I come talking Mipla lo this la, all get money back come lo vote blow Mipla ya. DSIP all get back come lo vote ya. This la 14 million blogger mem token by putting player. Please can you release that now? Over the ward member, ward 17 open my account finish.
Provincial Police Commander Acting Superintendent Manju Rubian, who was there to talk to the people, explains what it means by the state of emergency imposed by the PNG government. Mr. Rubian explains the state of emergency orders now supersedes all powers, suspending all other powers. The PPC encouraged the people gathered to remove the roadblock and allow traffic to flow.
Na state of emergency, I'm saying people power long police na mi people sok sa people. You la tara make you something, police maxim you. Be one bell, one is you plan make him, you plan no better to make him, you plan la show him this again passion gaman no sem. This like one plan content blah gaman must look sabe, which me understand him. Please me appeal you plan you have gaman look sabe finish. One is you plan make him by me go to all media social media blame me of gaman or usad man control go pass for this heavy emergency time by look him. So please now me biano me total blah me last boy back na put it aside. Let him already open or memory must go come.
However, Rubian says he has no prerogative to address any concerns regarding the SIP funds for Medang District. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Medang.
Lay Market maintained its temporary operation today with most benches empty inside the market due to the extension of the SOE orders restricting the transportation of food crops from the highlands down to Lay. Morobe's COVID-19 response committee has allowed for the lay market to reopen temporarily last week, Tuesday, following the end of the 14-day lockdown. The COVID-19 preventive measures are also considered inside the market.
This gate is used for entrance only, whilst this one is used for exit. Officers of Lace Market are positioned at the entrance gate, reminding vendors and customers to wash their hands before doing their business inside the market.
Online come inside, go outside, left side. So one way in the zone, outside, go outside, left side, gate 2. So people do strong roll man, come inside the market long. Come inside, please wash him go inside the market around.
Sinks are set up inside all corners of the market. A vendor who has been selling at Lace Market for almost 10 years said the extra sinks provided for washing hands would also help the vendors maintain cleanliness.
First time people are going one that bora to sol. People are walking market. Now we play me planting wara running me plus me plamas me plawasi mana dislakain.
Lay Market is one of the biggest market in PNG and serves people from the 9 districts of Morobe, Oro, and the Highlands provinces. It was closed following the 14-day lockdown after the first COVID-19 case was confirmed in the country. The market was allowed to reopen temporarily last week Tuesday by the Morobe's COVID-19 response committee. However, it will be closed again following advice from the Morobe Provincial Health Authority.
Morobe mo sa kaya supply na mi plakay kaya na staba. Instead of 2 weeks we stop long mi plakay time straight lo komuna garan kaya wem kam. Ta market pasa mi panim planti problema se mi plasta laos. Mi plasta panim kaya blol pigini la dislakan lo men ma baim school people pigini lo dislak. Market lo mi pla mekila.
Since the market was reopened last week, the benches where food crops, especially from the Highlands provinces, are sold on are still empty. One such commodity is pineapple from Western Highlands. This section of the market where the pineapples are sold is still empty due to the SOE orders in place restricting interprovincial travels. This has affected most of the producers and vendors.
Pineapple, mama, leave pineapple. So pineapple mat lo car and bakare come down na mibla ba market layer all ke pineapple em stop lo garden et na em sting them go down so transport them out now
tu lo look down osem oh mibla osem la side lomi osem Stanley mi section bibla bagrab long side lomi la live lo because not lo side em rent money se go na not lo side em osem lo kege tu em osem misa liglit money misa market no misa na interest misa buy rent okay interest em osem misa buy kege na misa live osem.
Julie Badui, Oa, National EMTV News, Lay.
This is National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, domestic flights resume this week and mudslide in Chimbu kills 10 people. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back. The global pandemic has not only had negative stress impacts on adults, but it is affecting children too. Psychiatrist Dr. Uma Ambi says children may react to stress in different ways. She also said parents need to respond to their children's reactions in a supportive way and listen to their concerns.
As Papua New Guinea comes together to protect itself from COVID-19, learning how to cope with stress has become vital. Psychiatrist Dr. Uma Ambi says, although adults have their own unique ways of coping with stress during this time, children respond to stress in different ways.
Anxious, withdrawing, angry, and agitated. Sometimes they come with bedwetting. Because only no pikinini only no nap talk out. Or worry by stuff inside. This is the point. Outbreak time, we need to act with love.
Children need love and attention during difficult times. And Dr. Ambi advises that as much as possible, don't instill fear in their minds about COVID-19, but use this time to give them factual, clear information about how to reduce the spread of the virus.
So give attention, but firm and assertive way of passing the message to them and tell them how serious it is. They also should know it's not to be played up.
Now that they are at home and not going to school, create or keep routines and schedule times for them, including school or learning, as well as time for safely playing and relaxing.
Go and sit and play with them, tell them how, what. Then they will also in reciprocal by harim talk lo use right. Mipla big player ni no harim talk. Now we sing out him all together, all was harim talk good na kiss him save good na fighting this last sick. It's in our hand now. Yes.
Remember to listen to your children, speak kindly to them, and reassure them. Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
Domestic flights are scheduled to resume this week under strict guidelines. State of Emergency Controller David Manning says only the NOC-19 Centre will approve all domestic travel. Manning also announced the 5 different categories intending passengers must follow to be airlifted to their destinations.
With the state of emergency into day 22, domestic flights will commence this week. Manning says the utmost effort is to stop the COVID-19 threat and its possible spread in the country. With all airline operators given strict guidelines, some ports will see flights commencing.
Over this week, we will see more of our domestic ports opening up. Most of our domestic airlines service providers will continue to provide flight schedules to these domestic ports. And on that token, I'd like to also reinforce that the Joint Agency Task Force, in as far as approvals are concerned, we will continue to control or approve, be the only authorization for approval of flight schedules for domestic services.
Through the NOC-19 Centre, an application is being finalized for passengers to use and apply online. Those intended to travel will fall under 5 categories outlined by the controller. Manning says these include students, return to place of residence, essential service staff, business travel and emergency flights.
So again, I beg for the understanding and the patience of all our travelling passengers on our domestic flights. It is a work in progress, as I said, but it will be made available for ease of applying for domestic travel within the week.
Meanwhile, Manning says PNG borders remain a threat. He says troops have been deployed to border provinces in West Sepik and Western Province. The controller says the border is where chances of transmission are high.
Border security remains one of the Joint Agency Task Force's priority taskings. You will learn through the Deputy Controller Health's briefing that is where our biggest risk and threat is at this point in time.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Managing Director of CPL Group of Companies Mahesh Patel says Stop and Shop is doing fine, although the interruption of COVID-19 has restricted the movement of staff and goods. He says Papua New Guinea has really done well in this trying time, especially with directives from the national government and its response to the global pandemic. He further stated that Stop and Shop has enough stock in place in case the state of emergency is further extended.
Stop and Shop Supermarket Managing Director Mahesh Patel says the supermarket chain has enough stock in place to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. When asked how he thought business was handling it, he said doing business was fine, with major concerns around the availability of staff under lockdown conditions.
I think generally we've been okay. The biggest confusion has been the uncertainty amongst our staff because of the public transportation. As you know, whilst we're all very mindful of the health issues, most of our people are reliant on public transport. So the whole weekend we have had issues. It adds to the cost of the business because we need to do a staff pick up, drop off, and you know, it's getting back to normal now, so it's good to see that. But we're still very, very vigilant. As you see, we got temperature guns outside, we got hand sanitizers outside. We want to encourage social distancing. So I think if we all play the part, I think it's all looking very positive at the moment.
With the country's land and sea borders closed, Patel says it is difficult to get local produce direct from the local farmers. So the only option for Stop and Shop is to import from overseas.
I think we've had issues with the supply of produce across the borders. A lot of our farmers, and I think this is something we intend to speak to the controller and the emergency unit to say that a lot of our farmers are dependent on cash crops. That is the livelihood. They're not able to come across to the city. I realize the issues, but I think we'll need to quickly find a solution. Either we set up a depot or a collection point somewhere where we can control the movement in and out, but also allow people to actually get their livelihood. Because the farmers, as you know, it's a livelihood.
He says the government needs to look into helping farmers as it is their only means of generating income.
Trying to discourage imports to support the local industries. So once we get past these border issues, I think we should encourage our farmers to keep growing more because we will be buying more from here. Take for example onions here we see, we had supplies out of the Chimbu province, but right now they're struggling to get produce down. Firstly across the borders in the highlands and then shipping across from Leh here. So unfortunately we'll be forced to import, which increases the price as well. So I think it's a good time for PNG to sort of step back and say, well, we can produce more, let's produce more, let's support our local farmers.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
To other news, the body of a man was retrieved at Vocal Point in Leh last night after being underwater for over 24 hours. The man, who has been identified, had gone down to Vocal Point for a swim on Saturday and drowned. This crowd of people, including relatives, stood on the beach where the man went missing while divers attempted to retrieve the body. According to bystanders, the first diver sighted the body under this ship wreckage but could not retrieve it. The attempts continued for a few hours. At around 7 p.m. in the evening, the body floated to the surface and was retrieved. Police said he drowned.
Sindalo warana em to kosa mimba waswas na ju sana pasta na mi sindalo slab em go waswas o turan em go waswas na o daiblo waraya dai ministra da mo tubla meritu em sana stablo warana tubla tu lulusta stabna na turan genem daiblo warana em luslo wara mi go segim lo wara go incheno no stablo wara mi tu mi arlo mi pani mi go na no warna mi go lo se transfer putim lo na mi putim lo yana mi go lo politician.
A mudslide which occurred over the Easter weekend has claimed the lives of 10 people in Kegesuglo, Gembog, Chimbu province. Yesterday, all 10 bodies were retrieved. With road access and bridges blocked, they are calling on the authorities to give relief assistance.
These pictures supplied by a local shows the damage caused by the mudslide near the Mount Wilhelm Secondary School at Kegesuglo, Gembog, Chimbu province. Gardens, homes and farms have been destroyed and 10 people killed.
8 from the 10 total, 8 of them were the villages, the ancillary staff of the Mount Wilhelm Secondary School, and the other 2 were from the nearby village communities that were affected.
Reports from locals state that the mudslide occurred on Friday morning, starting from a creek beside the secondary school. Church properties and trade stores in the area damaged, including roads and bridges leading to Usinobundi and Mount Wilhelm. Locals searched for the 10 who were missing and recovered all 10 bodies as of yesterday. With the road access and bridges damaged, locals are calling on the authorities for relief assistance.
Now we are appealing to the national government and even the provincial government, disaster team and the coordination team to come and assist in these areas of disaster. We are still locked down.
Apart from the mudslide at Kegesuglo, landslips have also been experienced along the Kundiawa-Gembog highway. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the NASFund market report, the Kina opened unchanged at $0.292 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2835, $0.4408 Australian dollars, $0.2521 euro and 29.89 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher. Coffee and copra closed higher, cocoa closed lower, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading lower while copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 328.6 points lower, the ASX is trading at 102.28 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 104.79 points higher. You're watching National EMTV News, stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, France has announced it will extend the lockdown measures for another month. It comes as two other hard-hit nations, Spain and Italy, begin to ease restrictions.
Church bells toll across Spain in honour of the victims of COVID-19. 17,500 Spaniards have died from the virus, but the rate of new infections is falling. After just a fortnight's lockdown, masked commuters are venturing out. Spain's cautiously rolling back strict measures, allowing some factory and construction workers to return to their jobs. Spain's health minister stressing, though, the country remains in a confinement phase, normality limited to a small number of sectors. Italy too is set to do similar, but there's no end in sight to the 5-week shutdown for hospitality businesses there. Many bars and restaurants preparing to close for good.
Sopravvivere a 5-6 mesi di chiusura.
It comes after a grim assessment from Italy's deputy health minister.
Now it's impossible to imagine that restaurants can reopen until the discovery of a vaccine. Is impossible to imagine that you can return to a normal life.
France is taking no chances despite predictions of the worst economic recession since the Second World War. It's extending its lockdown for another month.
À partir du 11 mai,
we will gradually open schools and nurseries from the 11th of May, said the French President Emmanuel Macron. The World Health Organization urging governments to resist rushing to relax restrictions.
Control measures can only be lifted if the right public health measures are in place.
Now is the time for vigilance. Now is the time to double down.
Advice the UK seems to be heeding, with officials there predicting death rates will continue to climb this week.
I absolutely understand the difficulties that some of the decisions make, but it would be a waste if we would rapidly reverse that and lead to a re-emergence of this.
After the challenge of enforcing lockdowns comes the equally delicate task of how to end them.
The coronavirus has emptied beaches across the Pacific and Asia, with tourist destinations unusually quiet.
Phuket and Thailand, the tourist numbers have dropped to 0. Many shops are shuttered and water festival celebrations for the Thai New Year have been called off. The country's in partial lockdown to stop the spread of the virus. And on the outskirts of Indonesia's capital, volunteers dressed as ghosts have been deployed to patrol the streets. The idea? To spook people into staying home to stop the spread of COVID-19. While some locals initially ventured out to see the ghosts, the message to scare people back into their homes is now starting to get through.
Some outdoor COVID-19 testing stations in the southern U.S. have had to close after deadly tornadoes ripped through several states. At least 32 people have been killed.
Relentless storms slamming the Northeast in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. A family inside their home outside New York City when this tree fell.
And it just came crashing to the ceiling. I mean, I was lucky to get out alive.
One of many families with damaged homes amid those shelter-in-place orders. Outdoor coronavirus testing facilities shut down across the region.
The high winds and driving rain made the conditions unsafe for both visitors and health workers to open today.
At that massive Fields Hospital, treating COVID patients in New York Central Park, officials confident the tents can withstand the wind.
Oh, you can see it. It's
ripping stuff up right here. Debris.
More than 50 tornadoes reported in the last 24 hours, including this one northeast of Jackson, Mississippi. In Lawrence County, Mississippi, the Sheriff's Department mourning the loss of Deputy Robert Ainsworth and his wife Paula, writing Robert left this world a hero as he shielded Mrs. Paula during the tornado. Chattanooga, Tennessee, taking a direct hit from an EF3 twister with winds of 145 miles per hour. The decision of whether to open shelters amid the COVID-19 pandemic faced across the region.
At the end of the day, life safety had to persist over everything else.
And in Monroe, Louisiana, where hundreds of homes were damaged,
a picture of me and my mother. My mother died a couple years ago.
Felicia Thomas and her daughter Cynthia now picking up the pieces. They were trapped inside their decimated home with 3 young children until their neighbor, Jared Moore, came racing to the rescue.
What was your first instinct?
We gotta help them. We gotta get them out. If we don't get them out there, they're not gonna make it.
Everyone made it out safely, grateful to be alive.
Trukai Sports is next. Here's Godwin at the sports desk.
Thanks, Helen. Now in Trukai Sports up ahead, applications flow in for the position of men's national football coach and finding innovative ways to disseminate information during the global pandemic. Join me after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG Football Association has received applications from candidates overseas applying for the position of men's national coach. An application each from Germany, Africa, Brazil and a few from New Zealand have been received. PNGFA would like coaches to have the same qualities as former coach Fleming Seritzlev. Bringing a coach from overseas will help raise the level of football and also mentor coaches in the country. PNGFA is also advertising for men's assistant coach, goalkeeping coach, trainer, team manager and assistant manager. Organizations are becoming innovative and using technology as a means of disseminating information during the COVID-19 pandemic. National Rugby League, or NRL, in PNG are recording their classroom and field sessions for students on video in light of the government's restrictions.
The League Belong Life program run by the National Rugby League, NRL, in Papua New Guinea has hit a setback with the COVID-19 pandemic forcing schools to close prematurely in Term 1. NRL in PNG runs classroom and on-field sessions with primary schools on health, well-being and rugby league.
We should have already completed all our programs in all our regions, in the schools for Term 1. So due to the lockdown, we haven't completed most of our programs for Term 1.
But the COVID-19 scare is not holding back the team at the NRL in PNG office here in Port Moresby. The team is working on producing videos for students on their sessions. Previously hands-on and face-to-face, this time students will be watching and learning.
We have come up with videos. Our development officers are currently working on videos for students to watch, could be online or will be given to the school should the school start in 2 weeks' time.
The 6 sessions are for students to understand healthy, well-being and rugby league. The students from grades 3 to 5 are taught the basics of making informative, healthy choices, which in turn benefits them to take part in rugby league.
So the selected schools will be receiving these videos. The videos will be on the main 6 sessions that we run in the schools. On well-being, 2 topics on well-being, which is an indoor class, and 2 topics on our outdoors, which is based on rugby league skills and drills.
Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Plans to reboot the NRL competition has been welcomed by Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. The endorsement coming as league bosses met with broadcasters to discuss what changes are needed to keep players and officials safe during the COVID-19 outbreak.
A die-hard Sharks fan, Australia's Prime Minister backing an NRL reboot in the midst of the corona crisis.
I like the ambition. I like that they're planning to try and get the show back on the road, at least in some form. But it'll be subject to the health advice. There'll be no special set of arrangements.
Australia's Chief Medical Officer has already called the NRL's move premature as it scrambles to work out how to get the competition restarted in a safe, modified form by May 28.
That will have to be influenced by government and the medicals, obviously. We see differing opinions about that. It's probably optimistic, I would say, but they've got to start somewhere.
The loss of games and revenue is threatening the future of clubs. Panthers coach Ivan Cleary is more confident an NRL return can be done safely.
The players' best interests, their health is first and foremost. I believe that. I don't think they would do anything that was going to jeopardise the players, because at the end of the day, the players are the game's biggest investment.
Cleary, who has a son playing, believes all teams should only return to training once the New Zealand Warriors are out of quarantine in Australia.
I think it's really important as a game that we're solid on that, because the Warriors are doing it tough. You know, I've got a bit of a soft spot for that club.
And if the game makes a comeback in 2020, Cleary wants to make sure his 2-from-2 Panthers get to keep their points.
To win any NRL game, there's a lot of work that goes in. People get injured, people make debuts. And the way I look at it, it's going to be a shortened season anyway.
A short season offering less fanfare and income for a game that's used to capturing a nation is for now better than nothing.
That ends Trukai Sports. Up next, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. You're watching National EMTV News.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
A look at the weather forecast for the southern region. Mostly fine, although cloudy at times in Port Moresby. Mostly fine weather in Daru and Alotau, and partly cloudy with chances of a few showers tonight in Kerama and Popondetta. In the Mamase region, partly cloudy with a chance of a shower or two in Lae and Vanimo. Fine, although cloudy at times in Medang. Mostly fine weather in Wewak. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy with a few showers tonight in Lorengau and Kavieng. Mostly fine weather in Kokoporabao and Kimbe. Partly cloudy with a few morning showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, cloudy with rain showers in Goroka, Kondiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Mostly fine weather in Mount Hagen. Forecast for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border to Daru, to Yule Island, to Hood Point and Aroma Coast. Seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Samar Island and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of East Cape to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, including waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to Siasi Islands to Long Island, and with waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Aitape to northern PNG Indonesian border, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of New Ireland and Bougainville, and waters of east and west New Britain, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Look at the ocean forecast. The PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas slight with southeast to northeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas slight with east to northeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northeast to easterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
And that's the way it is for Tuesday, the 14th of April 2020. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.